All right, hi, and welcome to another installment of Math Basics with Mr. Besh. Today we're going to identify and calculate both X and Y intercepts on a coordinate plane. But before we begin, we got to assume a few things. Number one, we got to assume that you know what the coordinate plane is. We got to assume that you know how to plot points as well as how to graph a line. Now, once we get all that down pat, we could start identifying what intercepts are about. See, intercepts are the points where a line crosses each axis. Now, there are two special types of lines, horizontal lines and vertical lines. Horizontal lines do not cross the x-axis. So as a result, all horizontal lines will not have an x-intercept. And vice versa, vertical lines never cross the y-axis, so they will never have a y-intercept. All other lines are diagonal, and all diagonal lines have both an x and y-intercept. What we are going to do today is, using algebra, I'm going to take an equation of a line and show you how you identify both the x and y intercepts. First, to find the x-intercept, you are going to take the y value in the equation and make it 0, and then you're going to solve the equation for x. To find the y-intercepts, you're going to do the exact same thing, except now you're going to make the x value 0 and solve for y. I'm going to use and show you two different examples. I'm going to use one the equation where my slope is a whole number, and the other one where slope is a fraction. And what we're going to do is find both the x and y intercepts, and then we're going to plot them on a graph, and that way we're going to see a visual model of what the x and y intercepts look like. My first equation is y equals negative 3x plus 6. So my first task is to find the x-intercept. That means I have to make the y value 0. So in doing so, take a look at my algebra. When y becomes 0, the first thing I have to do to solve this equation for x is subtract 6 from both sides. When I do this, I get negative 6 is equal to negative 3x. Now, to get x by itself, I have to divide both sides by negative 3. And then all of a sudden, I get my x value, which is 2. How does this work? Well, the 2 becomes the x value of my x-intercept. Remember, we already made y being 0. Then to find the y-intercept, I do exact opposite. I make 0 in for the x value. So when that happens, negative 3 times 0 is 0, and easy enough, 0 plus 6 makes 6. So then the y value of my y-intercept becomes 6. We already knew the x value, which was 0. What I need to do now is take and I plot my points on my graph. Notice that your y-intercept is your point where your line crosses the y-axis, and that is at 0, 6. And notice the x-intercept is the point where your line crosses your x-axis at, which is 2, 0. The second example I'm going to do for you is with a slope being a fraction. Again, this procedure is exactly the same. To find the x-intercept, I make y equal to 0, and to find the y-intercept, I make x equal to 0. So I take my equation, first finding the x-intercept, put a 0 in there for y, and then solve the equation for x. That means I got to add 5 to both sides, so then I get 5 equals 2/3 x, and then I have to divide both sides by 2/3. Hint: when you're putting this in your calculator and you're dividing by 2/3, it's easy if your calculator works with fractions, but if it doesn't, use the parenthesis buttons on your calculator, or take 2 divided by 3, get the decimal, and use this value. You will get the x value being 7.5. Notice not all the time are your intercepts whole values. Sometimes you get fractions or decimals. That's okay, they're still pretty easy to work with. So now 7.5, 0 is my x-intercept. To find my y-intercept, make x equal to 0, so then 2/3 times 0 is 0, and then 0 minus 5 is negative 5. I also hope you realize that finding the y-intercept is a little bit easier than finding the x-intercepts. So now my y-intercept is 0, negative 5, and then I take and I plot both of my points, and this is what I have now. My x-intercept being 7.5, 0, and my y-intercept being 0, negative 5. And this is x and y intercepts, what they are and how to find them. I hope you found this both helpful and informative.